This is Radio Freedom.
KLF is gonna rock ya.
You're listening to Poddy Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy.
And now, the hunt for the perfect album.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunt for the Perfect Album with Billy and Dave. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm very good this week.
I'm okay.
Cunt.
Why don't we chat about it? This week was your choice of an album. Why don't you tell the people what you gave me and why?
I gave you the KLF's album, The White Room, which came out in 1991, if my hazy university era memory serves me correctly.
I think I read today it was their fourth and final album.
It's an interesting tale. So you had Bill Drummond, who a Scottish fella, and had sort of meandered around the music industry. I think he was the manager of Echo and the Bunnymen, sort of at one point, but decided that he had music to make, and teamed up with Jimmy Corti, who had been doing, I think he was in one of the bands that Drummond was overseeing or something. I can't remember the details, but they kind of joined forces and became this two-headed entity that initially called themselves the Justified Ancients of Moo Moo.
Right.
Which is a name that they drew from a trilogy of fantasy novels called the Illuminatus trilogy that was around in the 90s, I think. I read the first of them when I was in high school and fucking loved the shit out of it and couldn't find the other two in the library, so I never finished it. But it was very concerned with the Illuminati and it had elements of numerology and all this sort of stuff. It was conspiracy theorists fucking love the shit out of those books. But that's where they drew the name from there. In the books, I think the Justified Ancients of Moo Moo, I think the Justified Ancients are an organisation that exists to go up against the Illuminati. I might be getting that wrong. I'm sure some tinfoil hat wearing listeners will correct me in the comments.
Dave Powell, wrong again. The trilogy is truth.
Drummond was a big fan of that sort of shit, and that's the name came from there. And they big proponents of kind of flouting the system and the status quo. They were a bit heavily into the early days of sampling other works and you taking the component parts and making something new, and very much in favour of not seeking permission to do that shit, which they came asunder with lawsuits and things along the way. As the Justified Ancients of Moo Moo, they, I think, released a few tracks. Then they released a song which a lot of people will probably have heard called Doctor and the TARDIS, which was a remix of the Doctor Who theme with a bunch of other shit thrown in there, purely designed to chart. And they didn't want to release it under the Justified Ancients name, so they put it out under the name of the Time Lords, because it was done purely as an exercise in, I reckon we can make something that will go in the charts. Scientifically speaking, we know the components that would make that happen, to the point where they even released a book about how to make a song, but going through a checklist, how to make a song that will go into the charts, and a number of bands actually followed it and had success. And I want to say the Stone Roses was one of them. There were a few name bands that ostensibly did it. Then they changed their names. They became the Jams and released some stuff. Go on YouTube. There's some fucking documentaries about the history. It's fascinating. The story of how the KLF kind of came to be the KLF. But eventually they were going to make a road movie. And that had a soundtrack. It's like a 20-something minute road movie. Never ended up getting released or properly finished. There's raw versions you can find on YouTube if you look hard enough. But the soundtrack to that got distilled down into an album, which is The White Room.
Right.
So you've got elements in there of... They basically created the genre of stadium house. So it was when house music was just kind of up and coming in the early 90s. And there's acid house and et cetera, there's subgenres. They kind of took that, and it was right at the time when kind of raves was becoming a thing. It was a little before your time because you're a spring chicken, but right when I was starting uni, so this was a kind of a really big thing. And they kind of took that genre and created this other subgenre, stadium house, where they injected crowd noise and made the whole thing and made it bigger. And this album was kind of a mini monolith in that subgenre.
Yeah. So I had no experience with this album or the KLF.
This was the biggest swing I've had since Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
This is not your wheelhouse at all.
No, I'm not going to lie. This was a very ballsy, big swing. To be honest, this kind of music, all I can really point to is... Night at the Roxbury, the soundtrack to that film.
Oh, God, I hate that fucking movie.
It's kind of the extent of my familiarity with this kind of electronic dance music. And I had no idea that that's what this album was. You didn't really give me any info about it. I didn't do any Googling. I went in completely cold.
Because I didn't expect you to like it. And I thought... If I tell you what it is, you'll go in with preconceived. I would rather, because I'm not expecting you it to be your thing.
Yeah,
I'm just interested to hear what you think of it.
So
I thought it's best for you to just go in completely cold and just get a raw reaction.
So the thing, I definitely didn't dislike the album. There are some
better
tracks
than I expected.
There are some tracks that I like more than others. I do, just due to the nature of the music and my unfamiliarity with it, I do find a lot of it samey. And what I will say, though, is especially I was expecting you to give a spiel like that at the start, talking about their history, because I do think one thing you can tell is that unlike a lot of people who write this style of music, these guys are actual musicians, and you can feel that in this album. Most electronic dance music, I tend to... It may as well be written by AI. It's not...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But this album, you can feel, and it's really interesting. Like I said, I went in cold knowing absolutely nothing about this album. It starts with 1:30 of this guy with a beautiful voice singing. It reminded me of like the Drifters. Like it was almost kind of, and then you immediately you get the drop and it just goes into dance music. And then you get straight dance music for maybe 3 or 4 tracks that to me all kind of sound the same. And then there's some really interesting stuff in there. But when I threw it on, I was like, oh, what am I in for here? Because it didn't start how I expected anything to start. And then at the end of track 1, it didn't go how I expected it to go after that.
What they're going to do, you better not stop them because they're coming through. Move, 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 move.
The point when I knew what the rest of the album was going to be, and when I started to get trepidatious, because it's not my style.
No.
That first track, What Time Is Love, well, second track technically, but the first dance track, the first real track on the album, is the electronic dance track that I liked the most. I really liked the incorporation of, the rap.
You got a sample from MC5 in there at the front. Kick out the jams, motherfuckers.
Yeah. And then after that, it all just kind of sounded the same for quite a few tracks for me. Until we got to Last Train to Trans Central, I really enjoyed that track.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I liked
Unexpected.
I liked just about every track from that point onwards.
Because that's when you get... So you've got kind of 3 big hit singles. You've got the What Time Is Love, Last Train to Transsexual, and 3 AM Eternal, which were kind of the 3 big singles. And I get that those 3 can sound samey if this is not kind of your jam in terms of a genre. Side 2... And that I always think about these things in terms of vinyl. But side 2 is a lot more of the kind of road trip soundtrack. So you don't have big dance tracks or anything in side 2.
I don't love The White Room, but I really liked Build a Fire.
Build a Fire is the one that I thought you would really... That's my favourite track on the album.
Right, yep. I liked No More Tears. I did spend a lot of time just thinking, and this is, apart from being able to hear in the album, because you can at certain points. I don't think every track you can tell that these guys are actual musicians, but there are points where you can tell that. And I just kept thinking, how did Dave come to this album? Like, it doesn't strike me as your kind of music either. Like, I can't picture you at raves popping pingers and stuff.
Well, see, the weird thing is, so I started uni in 91 when, along with kind of grunge taking a big leap forward, house music was taking a big leap forward as well. And the group of friends I had when I first started uni, for the first year, a lot of them were heavily into that scene. So they were out there popping pills, doing lines.
Yeah.
If I couldn't drink it or smoke it, I really wasn't interested in terms of, any experience. Pills and powders and things were not really, no interest. However, I did really love where music was going in that space. So KLF, I mean, obviously this album is one of my favourite albums of all time. I absolutely love it. Malcolm McLaren, who you know obviously is the guy that created the Sex Pistols and that, he was doing stuff in this space as well with Opera House and Waltz Darling and various albums. There was stuff that I loved musically in that space. I wasn't going to I tried once or twice to kind of go along with the crowd and go to these things. That's just like, fuck it, I hate this shit. I hate everyone here. I hate the whole vibe of... I don't like people at the best of times. Certainly don't like being in a room with a few thousand of the fuckers when they're all off their chops. So going to the raves and the dance parties, not my thing. But musically, there was a period of about 12 months where I was really into this sort of stuff. And I also really fell in love with what Drummond and Corty were doing. I personally wouldn't burn £1 million just as a statement, but I love the fucking fact that they did, because it's fascinating to me. I love the fact that they wrote this super cynical book about how to get a song in the charts. Yeah. Follow our recipe and you can fucking make $1 million with a hit single, because the music industry is that fucking shallow. Yeah. I love all of that, and you can dive into them. How much of it is orchestrated, how much of it is fake, how much of it is spin, I don't know. But like when the KLF finished in 94, I think it was, and they said, all right, the KLF is finished, and they deleted their discography, their entire catalogue. And from that point on, you couldn't get their music. You couldn't buy it. You couldn't. I mean, there was no streaming then, but you couldn't buy. They deleted their entire catalogue, and they said, "We'll be back in 23 years to explain this." And then they fucking vanished. 23 years later, in 2017, they fucking released this fucking book. Yeah. Which I haven't read yet. I've only just managed to get a copy off Amazon, so I can't speak to that. But the number 23 and the number 17 are both from the fucking Illuminatus trilogy as well. So were they thinking that far ahead that in 1994 they knew this is when we need to stop doing shit, because we need 2017 to be the 23-year mark in order to fucking match up with... It's you can blow your stack just trying to delve into this stuff, but I love all of that. They're so fascinating. I would implore listeners, go and just jump on YouTube and look up KLF, whatever. You'll see the documentaries and stuff. It is fascinating. Yeah. It may be all bullshit. I don't care. It's just as much fun if it's bullshit as if they genuinely were doing this. It's so interesting. You know, as I said, they went to the Isle of Jura in Scotland and burnt £1 million in a fireplace. Yeah. they were invited to the top. It was the Top of the Pops, the British Music Awards, whatever it is, their equivalent of the Grammys. And they went on with, I can't remember the band. It was the equivalent of like Cannibal Corpse or something. This fucking horrendous death metal band, and like fired machine guns into the audience with blanks. They dropped the corpse of a sheep on the steps of the awards ceremony. You know, it's so much fun. Go watch the documentary. It's so interesting.
Okay, everybody, lie down on the floor and keep calm.
This is what KLF is about. Also known as the justified ancients of Moo Moo. Furthermore known as a jazz.
That and What Time Is Love are probably my favourite of the dance
the dance tracks. Yeah.
The
3 a.m. didn't do it for you? See,
no.
weirdly, that's the one that got me into this. That was the first song I ever heard from the KLF. I think I'd heard Doctor and the TARDIS, but I didn't know it was the same people at that point.
Yeah.
But 3 a.m. Eternal, I think was I had missed What Time Is Love because I think that was the first single. Passed me by. 3 a.m. Eternal used to play incessantly on Rage. And because it opens with that machine gun, everybody down, get down, brrr, machine gun fire. It's so arresting. I fucking fell in love with that on Rage, but a lot of that might have been the visuals of it as well, because
yeah. Then we get into Build a Fire, which is probably my favourite track from the album. Yeah.
That makes two of us.
It's just so unlike everything that's come before it. And from memory, it's the only track with, you mentioned the Scottish guy.
Bill Drummond, yeah.
Yeah. This is the only track that he performs vocals on?
I think he might have a random line somewhere, but neither of them are singers' performance, whatever. They get guest vocal. Even the ones which I always assumed they had the same person, but even between What Time Is Love and 3 a.m. etc., the guy doing the rap is a different guy each time.
Oh, really? So they're not actual band. So even the voice we hear at the start in Justified and Ancient, is that not a member of the KLF?
Everything is
right.
The KLF is Bill Drummond and Jimmy Cordy. Jimmy Cordy, to my knowledge, has never uttered a word on a song. Right. Bill Drummond is the Scottish guy, so you've got him doing that amazing stuff in Build the Fire, which I love. But all of the vocalists all the way through, and you can sort of go beyond. So there's they've got really cool remixes of some of these. There's a really cool remix of, which song is it? It's not Last Train. Anyway, Justified and Ancient. There's a remix of that where they... It's hilarious. Jimmy Cordy suggested to Bill Drummond, you know what we really need to do a version of Justified and Ancient? We need some country in there. Let's get Tammy Wynette. And Bill Drummond, who's a big country fan, said, fuck yeah, I don't know if we can, but let's try. And he reached out and they got Tammy Wynette. Tammy Wynette flew across to the UK and they got all set for this mammoth single. And Jimmy Cordy said, you know what, I don't think that's who I was thinking of. He was thinking of Dolly Parton. He thought he was thinking Dolly Parton and he had the name wrong. But ended up, go jump on YouTube and look for the Tammy Wynette version of Justified and Ancient. It's fucking incredible. But yeah, no, it's so good.
Yeah, so all in all, there's nothing on this album that I disliked. It's just for me that it's the majority of it is that electro dance, which is just not my type of music.
Oh, look, if you're not from that era, that sets my heart pumping, but it wouldn't do I didn't expect it to.
Yeah, but I mean, that said, I'm sure that if I was to listen to this album more, I listened to it a fair few times, but I'm sure that if I was to listen to this another 10 to 15 times, that would be enough for me to start to differentiate, and really appreciate it. Because every now and then, even in those first 4 songs, I could not tell you most of them apart. Mm. But every now and then there's oh, that was a nice little riff, or there was a little string breakdown that was really interesting. But it's just, the majority of it is just, for me, it's just too...
Yeah, no, I expected that. And I predicted that Build a Fire would be your favourite.
Yeah.
As it is mine, because it's gorgeous. You've got that amazing Bill Drummond Scottish brogue there,
Yeah.
Lee Marvin on the jukebox, Wandering Star. I just go, I love it. I didn't expect you to gel with all of that.
Yeah.
What I will do when I chuck the YouTube up, I'll tack the Tammy Wynette video on the end.
Yeah.
Check it out, because I reckon that's a great example of kind of the weirdness that they brought into this stuff, and that somehow madly work. Because I'm a big fan of sampling. I haven't brought up mustered the courage to give you a Skinny Puppy album yet, but it's in the pipeline. Who are, I think, the masters of sampling. And it's all horror movie sampling, so it's you'll kind of gel with it. But yeah, this was the first time I think I've given you an album that I didn't expect you to like. Yeah, but I was interested to see what you thought of it.
Well, I reckon I'm landing on a 6.5, maybe to a low 7.
Better than I expected.
Yeah, like I said, there's nothing here that there's no tracks that I would skip necessarily. There's just no tracks that I think, apart from To Build a Fire, I would choose to intentionally put on.
Yeah, sure. No, I get that.
Yeah. All right.
So what are you throwing at me so I can shit on it next week?
Well, next week. So you'll remember that previously when I gave you Monona Alone,
yep,
I gave you a choice.
Yeah, you said
I
there
let
were
you
two
choose
things.
that.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 albums that I've just been
out the
pumping
same day, I think.
non-stop. Yeah.
Yep.
And so there was one artist who had been Hunt adjacent but not featured on the Hunt. That was Monona Alone. The other artist is one that has been featured on the Hunt, but in a limited capacity.
I at the time when you said that, I thought I might know who it is, because you've, as I have with you, you've only given me one EP.
Yeah, you're on the right track. Yes. Yeah, so I'm giving you Beach Bunny's new album, Tunnel Vision, which I think is tremendous.
Ooh.
I have been pumping it non-stop. I know that you loved The Window that I gave you by Rat Boys. I know that you liked the Beth's album that I gave you. I think this Beach Bunny album is at the height of that kind of bubble grunge genre. I think it is just next level good. So I'm really curious to hear what you think of it.
I did like Prom Queen and, what was it called? Painkiller or
Painkiller, yep. That was on that EP, yep.
I love those 2 songs.
Yeah, so I'm very, very curious to see if you appreciate this as much as I do.
Cool.
So in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at poddymouthradio.com or poddymouthradio@gmail.com. You can go to the Facebook listener community, go to our Patreon, all that good stuff. And you know what? If you're going to put the music video up at the end...
head on over to youtube.com/poddymouthradio. I don't know what the fuck it is. Go find us on YouTube and there's good stuff there.
Well, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to bother playing an outro song because that'll be it. So we'll leave you with a little bit more of the KLF.
Indeed.
They're justified and they're ancient, and they like to roam the land. Just roll it from the top. They're justified and they're ancient. I hope you understand. To the bridge, to the bridge, to the bridge. They called me up in Tennessee. They said, Tammy, stand by the jams. But if you don't like what they're going